Hi everyone, Gabi here. I am a master NLP practitioner, an EFT coach, a mindset coach, and a law of assumption coach here at Create Your Future. And thank you so much for joining me where we dive every week deep into the law of assumption to figure out how to make it work for you. Real quick, just want to share my offerings. I do have one-on-one individualized support. So if you are looking for some support, some help, a plan to get you on track to make the law of assumption work for you, go ahead and you can book a session with me. That's below. Also, too, I currently have a few courses available and my affirmation tracks are now bundled. So check those out. Let me tell you about my affirmation tracks, guys. Okay. I've had clients that have purchased the SP affirmation track and they have gone from no contact to date and commitment within 3 days of listening to that track. It really uses NLP techniques to move you into the alpha state where you can realize who you are as the version of you who has your committed relationship and your specific person, and boom. There you go, pushes out. So go ahead and check that out. That's in the description box below. Also, we are currently giving away a free course on how to identify your blocks and remove them. That is also in the description box below. So check that out. Okay, phew, all that said and done. Got it out of the way, guys. All right. Let's dive in. Okay, so this week I want to talk about how do you manifest a specific person or 2 or 3, as many as you want, right? So how do you do it? So we're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about a client success, specifically someone who manifested 2 specific people. All right. So before we dig in, grab something to drink. It's really cold and rainy here. So I'm sipping some tea, but I just wanted to jump on and really share this amazing story and also the tips and tricks of how to do this. So as you know, if you've been watching me, you know that you don't just manifest one thing or just focus on one thing to manifest. You are manifesting all the time. You are a God power, God consciousness in a human form, right? Your human avatar, if you want to call it that. And so because of this, you are manifesting naturally all the time. Think about it. A flower doesn't think about blooming. It just does. You don't really need to think about manifesting. You just do. You're doing it all the time. Now, when you first learn about the law of assumption, you learn about manifesting and selecting your experiences, you start to focus, maybe sometimes even hyper focus a little bit more on how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Well, the great thing is you're already doing it in a natural way. So you don't really need to hyper focus on that. But there are some things that we desire, both our God self and our human self that we desire, that we tend to hold a little bit more of a story around, right? And that story shows up as resistance. It shows up as different types of socially conditioned stories, such as trauma, inner child wounds, etc., whatever you want to call it, whatever name you want to give it, that's what it shows up as. And so we have to figure out a way to move away from that story and into the version of us who already has our desire. So how do we do that? Well, you can use techniques to do that, or you can just decide. Either way, both ways work. Okay. For those of us who are maybe struggling with a little bit more of that story, apologize. Got a little kitty here who's playing around. For those of us who are struggling with a little bit more of that story, sometimes we have to be a little bit more intentional with how we go about moving through that story, going over that story, going around that story, however you want to do that, however you want to call that, right? And so we do that by techniques. The techniques that we use move us from the version of us that does not have our desire to the version of us that does have our desire. I want to be very clear about this. The technique itself does not manifest your desire. So affirming all day long does not manifest your desire. What manifests your desire is when you affirm, you accepting that affirmation as true for you, you accepting that that is who you are now, and you then move into that version of you who has your desire. The sheer acceptance that that is a true story for you, that that is real for you, that that is who you are, is what accepts the desire and pushes it out. That is what moves you there, okay? And Neville talks about this, and if you've been watching my shorts this month, you are diving into Neville with me, so we're doing a little bit of brain bites with Neville. And Neville explains this very, very clearly, okay? Neville says that once you accept who you are, or you accept your story is real, then that is what pushes out for you, is that story. So we have to be very clear about what is the story that we want to be experiencing. In other words, what experience do we want to have, okay? Oftentimes, when it comes to a specific person, we have a lot of these doubts around, well, does this person have free will? How can I make this person do this thing? How can I make this person choose me? How can I go from being single to being in a committed relationship? What if this person has someone else? There's a lot of these doubts and a lot of these stories. And Neville actually says that if you have doubt, or you have fear, or you have worry, what you're doing is you're allowing outside conditions and circumstances to hold your own power. And your power is your selection of your experience. Once you've selected an experience and you've said, yeah, that's true for me, even just by the decision of saying that's what's real. So if it's a 3D condition or circumstance and you're looking outside of you and you're saying that's what's real, or if it's internally you saying this is what's real, whatever you accept to be real for you and true for you is what pushes out and manifest. That being said, circumstances and conditions don't matter. Now, I have a ton of clients that I work with that consistently are like, but Gabi, my circumstances are different. This condition is different. I've been doing this for so long. I'm different than your other clients. I can't do this. All I do is watch success stories and wish it were me, etc. I have clients that have said those things to me. And I have clients that, while we've been going through the coaching journey, have turned around, those same clients have turned around and said, I can't believe I ever thought that this mattered. I can't believe that I ever thought that this would be something that would prevent me from getting my desire. Because the real truth of the matter is, only what you accept to be real is what pushes out for you. So circumstances and conditions aren't real. If you say that's not real, that's not true, this is what's real, this is what's true, and you continue to return to that with a high rate of frequency. Neville says continue to the state of the wish fulfilled. Continue to turn and return to the state of the wish fulfilled. It's not about how long you stay in it, it's about how frequently you return to it, right? So continue returning to that, and then that is what pushes out. Okay, you're probably saying, all right, Gabi, why does all this matter when you're talking about a specific person? Well, I'm going to tell you why this matters. It matters because I was there. I was there once too. I also struggled with this notion of, but my specific person said this. My specific person told me that. My specific person said they didn't see a future with me. My specific person said, that they weren't over their baggage. All of these things. Okay. And I struggled with that too. I struggled with looking at my 3D and giving my specific person the power and the free will to make those decisions and choose what is real for me. And so I'm sharing this with you to share at the very front, the very beginning stage of your journey in manifesting your specific person. You need to take a look at your circumstances and your conditions, and you need to say, thanks so much for showing up. Thanks so much for reflecting back to me what my previous thoughts were, what my previous stories were around this. I no longer accept this as true. This is no longer real for me. This is no longer true for me. I only accept what is true, the new story that I am deciding now. Okay. Now, I will tell you that depending upon your time or your ability to accept what is real for you, that is how your time piece works, right? And it varies. It varies. You may have other stories. You may have stories specifically around your specific person, but then also have a story that everyone that you date doesn't commit to you, right? I've worked with a client, and we're going to dig into her story in a minute, but her story was every time she dated someone, as soon as they broke up, that person went and got married. Every single time. My client is in her late 30s, and she's gone through some pretty significant relationships in the last 5 years. And every serious relationship she had in the last 5 years, she would date that person. And then as soon as they broke up, within a year, that person would be married. So she started telling herself, I just prepare people to get married. I'm the last relationship before the marriage. That was her story, right? So she was holding on to that story in addition to whatever story she had around her specific person, whatever story she had around the conditions that were present in her 3D. Okay. That being said, we coach through all of those. Okay. We coach through all of those, and she doesn't hold those stories anymore. She has now moved into the version of her who is the one that is married. Okay. She's moved into that version. And like I said, we'll dig into her story in a minute. But I really want to set this up for you because many of the clients that I work with and that I see consistently, this is kind of the same conversation that we have. We talk a lot about what's going on outside of you. And the hard, I don't want to say hard because that's, we decide what's hard, but I guess I would say that the interesting piece about a manifesting journey and learning your power is that we have to, at some point, tell our human self, you're just experiencing the 3D for my God self. And once you start to kind of have that aha moment of realization that your 3D human self is really just your avatar for your God self to experience the senses of this world, which includes feelings, which includes engagement in interpersonal relationships, right? When you make that decision and you kind of have that aha moment, what happens is something absolutely magical. You step into your complete power and you realize that your 3D version of yourself, your human self that is engaging in this 3D world, is really not in control. Your God self is in control. And your God self is basically using your 3D self as an avatar. That's really the best way to put it. And so when we accept that and recognize that, then what happens is this amazing magical moment where we realize that, oh, hey, I don't have to accept what I'm experiencing as real. I just have to accept it as an experience that I've selected, right? And because it's an experience that I've selected, I can do exactly the exact same thing with another different experience. And so that allows you to kind of let loose a little bit around your 3D conditions and your 3D circumstances. Also, it allows you to recognize that the interactions that you're having with your specific person or people in your 3D world, those are just selected experiences, and you can choose not to have those, right? Okay. So now we accepted this. We've kind of set this up for you. So let's dig into how do you manifest a specific person? So I'm going to share with you just a little bit about how I have done it. I am with my specific person. And my specific person, I have a very similar story to what everybody else does, pretty much, right? We were together and then we broke up. And in the midst of the breakup, we were in no contact for a pretty long time. And throughout that no contact period, I went through the process of consciously creating the version of me who had my specific person. But it wasn't just so much about the specific person. I focused a lot on the relationship that I wanted with my specific person. I focused on very much having a relationship with a partner that heard me, that supported me, that understood me, that showed up for me, a partner that, you know, brought me flowers randomly, just because, a partner that I could have serious conversations with about my day-to-day, who also would listen to me and help me problem solve, but would also listen to me just to listen because I needed somebody to vent to, right? I have a partner who would problem solve with me through things that come up in the relationship rather than arguing. And I have to tell you, for me, that was a big thing. When I was thinking about the relationship that I want with my specific person, I really focused on the relationship of all the ideal components. I had been in a relationship with someone where when we argued, it turned into like us not talking for days. And for me, that didn't feel good. So when I was thinking about, well, what type of relationship do I want with my specific person? I was like, I want a relationship where we can have a conversation around things that maybe we need to work on in our relationship, or even a conversation around, I wanted to feel safe and have a conversation around, hey, like what you said didn't feel so good for me. How can we, maybe work on this so next time it doesn't happen? Or even if I, kind of overstepped, I wanted to have a conversation. I wanted my specific person to be able to come to me and say, hey, this made me feel this way, and I really wanted to kind of talk about it with you, right? So that was really, really important for me for identifying what I wanted in a relationship. I also identified that I want a specific person that I can feel safe with, that feels like home to me, that I can be myself around. I can be pretty nerdy. I guess that's like a characteristic or whatnot. In the sense that like I'm not calling anyone else nerdy. I'm just saying this about me, that like I love things like Lord of the Rings and fantasy. And I wanted someone that I could laugh with, that would get my jokes, that would get my relation, references and things like that. And so I really thought about what kind of relationship do I want? I took the person out of it and just thought about the relationship that I wanted. And then I started telling myself, okay, if I had this relationship with my specific person, who would I be? Would I be sitting here wondering, oh my gosh, are they on social media right now? No. Would I be sitting here wondering, why haven't they texted me? I haven't heard from them. No. Would I be sitting here wondering, do they love me? Would I be sitting here wondering, are they ever going to say I love you? Would I be sitting here wondering, oh my gosh, do they see a future with me? Am I going to meet their family? Like, do they want to invest in me? No, I wouldn't be thinking any of those things. As a matter of fact, I would be thinking the complete opposite of like, I would feel so secure and the knowledge that they love me that I wouldn't even have to wonder if I said it, would they not say it back? I would feel so secure and content in the knowing that I could be myself at all times. I would feel so secure and safe knowing that this person wants not only to be with me right now, but is planning a future with me. And when I started thinking about me showing up in that way, my world changed. My specific person stepped back into it as the version that I wanted them to be. I became that version. I no longer doubted. I no longer was insecure around the feelings of do they love me? Do they not love me? I no longer was wondering, does this person want a future with me? And my world changed rapidly. My specific person stepped back into my life, and within a few months, we moved in together. Okay. So that is how I manifested my specific person. And it is how I guide my clients into manifesting their specific person. I guide them into them really identifying who are they in a committed relationship, and who are they in a committed relationship with that person, right? Who do they want to see that person as? Not who are they in a committed relationship with that version of that person now, because the version of the person now that you have isn't in a committed relationship with you. So who are you as the version of you in a committed relationship with the version of them that is committed to you? Okay. That's a lot. It's a mouthful, right? So I say that to say that I have a client that I've been working with for a few months now. And my client had two specific people. She had been dating one person and had been on and off for about 6 months. And that one person, she just wanted to know really and truly if from this one person, she wanted to know if they saw a true solid commitment or if it was going to continue to be off and on. On top of that, she historically compared her relationships for the last 5 years to a relationship that she had when she had just gotten out of college, which was about 10 years ago. That person, that specific person, was the person that she consistently compared her new specific people to, her new relationships to, okay? And she kept always going back to that person and saying, gosh, like, I wish that was my person now. I wish that was who I was with now. That relationship was amazing. I loved who I was then. I loved being that person who was with that person, etc. That person, after they left college, within about a 6-month time frame of them leaving college, that person moved away to another country and became a partner to someone else. And was still with that person. They had a kid together, etc. So she was seeing a third party as a condition, a 3D circumstance. She was seeing a child as a 3D circumstance. And then on top of that, she had this story that every person she dated since that person, and I believe it started with that person if we really want to dig in. But every person that she dated and has dated, she successfully sets them up for a lifetime partnership with someone else. That's her story, right? She also encountered stories with these new relationships that she had. So, for instance, this second specific person, I hope you guys are following along. If you are, give me a thumbs up. This second specific person, so the one that she's been on and off with for 6 months, she has a story that this person is non-committal. So, as you can tell, we've got a couple of stories piling up, right? There's a story around her first specific person having a third party, having a child. Also, her all-encompassing umbrella story around she just sets her previous partners up for lifetime partnership after they break up with her. So she kind of is like the prep girl. And then also her current 3D circumstance story around her off and on again partner now who is non-committal. Okay. So she's got about 4 primary stories that we've kind of dug into. Okay. So what we have done throughout her coaching session is we have identified what is it about that first relationship that she really enjoyed. You know, remember if I said earlier, she told me she loved who she was in that relationship. And so we dug into that. What was that? What did she look like? What did she sound like? What did she think about in that relationship? And she shared that she was secure in that relationship, that she didn't doubt herself at all. She didn't doubt her worth. She didn't doubt her power, that it was easy and effortless, that she loved that relationship so much and they were so close and knew each other so well that they finished each other's sentences. She told me that she could be herself in that relationship, that she was able to be goofy. Also that they experienced a lot together. Like in their time together, they traveled a lot. They explored things a lot. She had a lot of brand new first time experiences with that person. And for her, that was really eye-opening as she looked back and reflected upon now versus then, because she feels like a lot of the things that she does now are very stagnant. Okay, another story. So we talked about that. Okay, we've coached through that. Then we talked about this person now. What is it that she identifies as being non-committal? And she shared some very specific, I'm going to clarify this and hear me out. She shared specific behaviors. Those are only 3D circumstances. Okay. Behaviors are not who your person is. Behaviors are 3D circumstances. Okay. If you got that, give me a heart down below. Behaviors are 3D circumstances. So she told me of some of the behaviors that the specific person now is displaying. They look like not talking to her for a few days at a time. So intermittent communication. They look like not bringing her to office events, not bringing her to family events, and right now only some friend events where they have mutual friends in common. Okay. They look like not spending more than 2 to 3 days together at a time. They look like every time she asks about where the relationship is going, her specific person had been ghosting her and would ghost for about 3 or 4 days. And every time she had a intimate moment that would be considered romantic, even if it was something small, like they would go to a movie and she would grab that person's hand, there would be a pull away. Okay. So I want to be very clear. These are the behaviors that her current specific person has been displaying. So we talked through and coached around, well, what is it that you want for you? What relationship do you want for you? How do you want to feel? What do you want to be thinking? How do you want to present your life? Like if you were having a conversation with your best girlfriend and you were telling them, hey, this is what my life is like. Like we haven't talked in a year. Excuse me. This is what my life is like. Sorry guys, it's cold and rainy here. Gotta keep my throat warmed up. So what would that look like for you? If you were telling your best friend, if you were telling your sister, if you're close with your sister, if you were telling, a friend that you haven't seen in 10 years, what does your life look like? Who are you now, right? Who have you become? And we talk through that. And as we talked through that, she realized that she really, really, really wanted to become more secure in who she is. She wanted to become secure and confident in the relationship that she is in. She wanted to not have a doubt that her partner would be there for her and be her plus one for everything. She wanted to not have a doubt that she could be romantic with her partner and it would be well received. She wanted to be secure in the knowing that her feelings were reciprocated. Okay. These were all really big pieces for her. And she kept going back to, again, that very first specific person. So we started working on some techniques for her to move herself into the version of her who already had that relationship and who already was that person in that relationship. And for her, she really likes scripting. So that's what we worked on. We developed some scripting pieces for her. As she started working through this, some crazy stuff started happening, guys. Crazy stuff. Okay. So as she started working through this, she noticed that her current specific person started spending more time with her. No longer was it 3 days at a time. Now her current specific person was actually asking her on a date. He planned a long weekend. He invited her to his cousin's wedding. This was a family event. Also, too, he was spending more time. He was showing up. He showed up. So she works from home. He showed up at her home for lunch, brought her lunch, spent her lunch break with her. So little things like this started happening. Now, I say little because for her, it wasn't the full unfolding of her manifestation, right? This was pieces of his behavior that were showing the conformation. And I say that intentionally. He was confirming and conforming to the version of her who was showing up with those specific components of who she was, right? I am now secure. I am now knowing of my power. I am now in this relationship where someone is reciprocating my feelings and reciprocating effort. Those were the pieces that she was focusing on. Okay. Here's the crazy part, guys. As she's doing that, guess who reaches out of the blue? Her first specific person. Her first specific person reaches out and says to her, hey, I can't stop thinking about you. I wanted to reach out to you. I know this is a long shot, but I'm going to be in America because he lives overseas. I'm going to be in America in your area next month, actually. And I wanted to know if we could get together. They had a conversation. It turns out he's been separated from his third party for over a year. And so they are now going on a date next month. Okay. He has been contacting her. They've been talking every day. They've been reminiscing. They've been joking. She feels very much like the version of her back then, but stronger, more powerful, and more knowing. So she has manifested 2 specific people. Was that her intent with her conscious creation? I don't know, but I will say that for her, this has allowed her to really see, first of all, how powerful she is, but also that she can have anything. And that it just takes moving into the version of you who already has it. So she consistently does that. She consistently checks in with herself. Guys, I want to be super clear. Whatever technique you're utilizing, great. Keep doing it. If it works for you, keep doing it. As long as it moves you to the version of you who has your desire, keep doing it. The other piece around that is your mental diet. When you are consciously creating, and yes, we're creating and selecting and manifesting naturally all the time, all at once. When we have stories, we tend to need a little bit more practice with that conscious creation component, okay? So it's just like, okay, let's use Simone Biles from the US Olympics, okay? She can do a somersault without thinking about it, right? Like she's been trained, that's muscle memory for her. She can do that, okay? She doesn't have to think about it. But if she does a somersault with a bunch of other different moves after that, she may have to think that through, right? Okay? It's kind of the same thing. The more that we assume or believe we have to work through or identify that we need to work through, the more stories that we need to kind of move through or over or around, whichever you want to call that, we have to be a little bit more intentional with our conscious practice, okay? And so with that comes mental diet. Now, eventually in your manifestation journey, there are going to be things where your mental diet's going to flip so quick, you won't even recognize that you're doing that. Your conscious thoughts are not even going to flip that in front of you in that way, right? But right now, for something that is something that you perceive to be a little bit more complex or a little bit more difficult, your mental diet is really, truly important. And when I say mental diet, you can look at it in a couple of ways. Mental diet can be every time your mind comes to that topic, you ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Who am I being right now? And if you recognize that your thoughts currently on that topic are of you not having it, then you know you're coming from lack. So the version of you that you're being is the version that doesn't have your desire. And so you need to move yourself back into the version of you that does. You can use a technique to do that, or you can just decide, right? Also, you can look at your mental diet as, okay, I'm thinking this thing and I need to flip it and think this instead, okay? It's your choice. Everyone does it differently. There's other ways too with your mental diet that you can, change it around. You can drill if you want, that sort of thing. I personally am really big on doing this as naturally and easily as possible because I'm a busy girl. And so I want to be efficient, right? So that's how I view it. I view it as asking myself, okay, where are these thoughts coming from? Are these thoughts coming from the Gabi who's in lack or the Gabi who has her desire? If they're coming from the Gabi who's in lack, then I need to immediately recognize that and say, okay, hold on. Whoa. If I had it right now, what would I be thinking? Who would I be? Right. And that's just how I do it. I coach you on whichever ways you resonate better with, right? You don't have to do it my way, okay? There is no wrong or right way to manifest. There is no wrong or right way to think through things. It's just a matter of focusing on who you are with that desire and accepting that as real, accepting that that's who you are. And that's how Neville taught too, accept it as real for you, accept it as who you are. So I hope this answers the question that has been posed quite a bit on how do you manifest specific people, more than one specific person. Also, how do you manage manifesting with 3D circumstances? I hope I'm changing that language. I intend that all of you who've watched this video absolutely have had light bulb moments, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see your comments. So go ahead, comment down below. What did you love? What do you want to know more about? Let's dig in, guys. Let's dig in. I am here to help. If you need some one-on-one, book that coaching session, and I will see you next time. Bye.